I love everything about Millwall. The fans who are just enormously passionate, enormously exciting to be around. I find, regardless of what other people think their reputation is, I just think they're excellent. They've always welcomed me and my family. I love walking around, saying hello to the fans. So that's been a big part of Millwall for me, getting to know as many fans as I know. I've always liked the team ethic. It's a hardworking middle-class team. Just go out there, not necessarily any stars. It's a team. It's always a team effort. It's something to be very, very proud of. And then, I interact with the staff. I interact with the chief exec. I interact with media. I interact with marketing, and the ability to interact with excellent people makes your day a lot shorter, because as you discuss things that have to be done, including the board, they get done. So there isn't anything about Millwall that I don't love. And of course, I love going to the games, and win, lose, or draw, hopefully win or draw. The games tend to be excellent games, and including this year, only a couple of games I think that we were out of, but I think we were in all but 2 or 3 of the games this year. So I love Millwall, and I love every part of it. Well, that was back in 2006, October, November. And my initial impressions of the club were that it was clearly financially unstable. It was, from a leadership perspective, unstable. From a player's perspective, I think, unstable, not knowing who the manager was going to be from a Monday to a Tuesday to a Wednesday. I, of course, knew about the fan base, but it wasn't a united fan base. Yes, everybody was a Millwall fan, but there were just a lot of people who were unhappy the way things were going, and I think it was an unhappy United fan base. And I think it was a ship that was drifting and going nowhere. I think the financial instability was what brought me in, because there was, I think those that know the history, was the immediate thing that faced me within 24 or 48 hours of my coming aboard was an unpaid tax bill. So did that. And after that was financing the team and bringing it up to a proper level where it could actually compete at that point in League One. So I think it was basically pretty simple. It was a ship that was teetering in the middle of the ocean that needed righting. And you needed a captain, you needed staff, you needed people just to on board to right the ship and get the soldiers ready so they could jump off and start fighting and winning games. So I think that was where I stepped in. And to be perfectly frank, I didn't really know whether we would succeed or not, but it was certainly worth the effort, I thought. Well, I think the management of the club, and I don't mean just me, I mean everybody else, has improved. I think the stability, the financial stability of the club has clearly improved. I think the quality of the leadership and the management of the team has been excellent. I think we've been very fortunate in our managers since I came on. Obviously I came in, and Willie Donaghy was a manager. After that, we had Kenny Jackett for 5.5 years. Not saying that every choice was brilliant, but I think we made some very good choices. We had Neil for almost 5 years, I think it is. Now we have Gary Rowett, who, quite honestly, I would have liked to have hired 8 or 9 years ago. I had the opportunity, so I wasn't going to lose him twice. And even, a controversial choice we made at the time, Ollie Holloway. But Ollie, if people really remember what happened, Ollie did save us in that first year. I think we had 9 games to go in the season. I think he had to win 6 or 7 in order to keep us up, and he did it. Obviously, it went awry the next year, which was too bad. But he absolutely came in and took over the club, and he got us through a very rough patch. So I think the leadership and the management of the club and our managers has gotten much better. the quality of players. I think I look at the 11 positions, and I feel very good about all 11 positions most of the time. And I think every day gets better, and our objective is to make that better, is to keep on improving. So I think if I think about it from 2006, we were at a bit of a low in every aspect. And I think since then, every year has gotten a bit better. There have been setbacks, but that happens in football. But our objectives of improving this club haven't changed. And I think that has been obvious to the fan base, and that has since united the fan base to support us, support the team. And I think we're all heading in the same direction, as well as the right direction. The fans, the management, the players, everybody, which is to see the club be successful on the pitch. There have been favorite moments, so I hate to distinguish one from another. Obviously, the wins at Wembley are great moments. The most recent, the 85th minute versus Bradford City, was a favorite moment. I think seeing the fans unite to help us to stop the compulsory purchase of our land was a favorite moment. Seeing the entire Millwall community come together, to me, was a favorite moment. In terms of games, there have been a number of games where I've had favorite moments. I mean, one was, although we didn't win at Wembley that year, we lost to Scunthorpe, against whom I have never seen us beat, so therefore will never go to Scunthorpe games. And did not go to the Scunthorpe games before Bradford City. But the Leeds away game, which was a draw, but seeing Jimmy Abdu's goal, as well as David Ford's penalty kick stop, which got us through the finals, that was a great game. There was a game many years ago, an away game, I think Hartlepool, where I saw us losing 2-0 after 50 minutes. And Neil Harris rattled off 3 goals very quickly. We won that game. That was a lot of fun. I remember an away game at Charlton, where we were 1 or 2 men down. I think it was 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 4-4, something along those lines. But anyway, we scored in the last minute of extra time to get a draw, and that was a wonderful moment. That was 8, 9, 10 years ago. But there's just been there've been a lot of favorite moments. The Huddersfield playoff victories before we went up. The other one, the win against Swindon Town, I guess that was Huddersfield. Those games were fun. And even some of the Wembley losses weren't terrible. It was fun being there. But I think those are the high points of my. Some of the high points I can just rattle off very quickly. Again, it's tough to pick one, but if I was going to pick one, the last one is very easy to watch over and over and over again, especially the first 33 and a half minutes, where we went 3-0 up against Forest. And I'd like to play the next 9 games and like to have similar results and enjoy them as much. There are other games I enjoyed this year. Going back over the years, there are many games. Obviously, the Wembley games. Leeds home was a lot of fun this year. I've watched that. Charlton, where I had one of my grandchildren with me, which was a extra time winner by Matt Smith. My grandson Thomas was with me, if I recall correctly. So it was good. It was a good game for him to see. But there have been a number of games over the years that I could see many, many times. Just thinking this year, the last was one of the best, if not the best of this year. And I hope that when we start up again, the next 9 will be just like the one that preceded it. Again, hard to name one. Wouldn't even want to name one, but just thinking by sort of positions 1 through 11. Starting from the back, I think the most iconic goalkeeper we've had was David Ford, who settled down a very unsettled position for us and was with us for a long time. David, of course, was one of the masters at stopping penalty kicks, big personality in the dressing room, definite leader on the club, a pleasure to be around. when I got in trouble at Wembley for smoking a cigar, David rescued me from the London police and lit one up. And if I recall exactly what he said, I believe it was along the lines of, "If you want my chairman, you'll have to go through me first." So not just for that, but for his goalkeeping, I think of David in the goal. In center backs, I think we have some excellent center backs right now who will be iconic. But looking in the past, I'd say Tony Craig and Paul Robinson were great iconic players of the team. Paul, of course, is with us now in a coaching capacity. Tony was captain of the team for years. In defenders, one who's really just stuck out, who was there when I got there, but kept it together and actually taught me a lot about the game, was Richard Shaw, who was older. I think he was 36 or 37 years old. But just a really steady player who didn't make mistakes and very, very smart. This was a time where we were going through left backs like crazy, so having a right back that was steady was very important to the team. In the midfield, well, of course, there's Jimmy Abdu, who was just like an ever-ready battery all over the place, never stopped running, always in front of whoever had the ball, always in the right place at the right time. And then one majestic, magnificent goal at Leeds during the playoffs. So I think of Jimmy. I think of in midfield, I've had Sean Williams for a long time. I remember getting him, buying him many, many years ago, and he seems like he's always there, and he's always, whether it's a penalty kick or something, he's just so dependable. I think we have some very strong midfielders now who will be iconic players of this club. I don't know which ones will end up being that person. One person who's obviously done very well and made quite a name for himself so far, of course, is Jed, who has been an outstanding player for us. And I think we've got quite a few others who have been quite good this season, last season, and I think the future, we have a number of young, strong, talented midfielders, first time during my time as chairman, and I look forward to seeing how they grow. And I think some of those people will, next time I do this 10 years from now, hopefully not because we're in the middle of a pandemic, we just do it for the hell of it, but hopefully we'll be talking about some of them. In terms of up front, really there are only two. Neil Harris, of course, what I remember about Neil is when he was looking for his record goal, I followed him around. That must have been bad luck because he didn't score it. I kept on going from place to place to place, and finally up at Crewe, he scored it. I believe we have the T-shirt he wore under his uniform was given to the club, and it sort of gave me the chance to go back home for a while because I think I stayed in the UK for weeks waiting for that goal. I think I saw 3 or 4 games, but he got it, and that was great. It was very exciting, and I think that's going to be a record that's going to be very difficult for someone to top. And then I think after Neil, Steve Morrison will be remembered as a great mainstay striker of this team. Always seemed to score when we needed it. Was a great leader at the front for this club. Someone who was a very exciting player, and in his time, I think he started late. He got into the professional leagues at an older age, but the number of goals Steve has for his short period of time at Millwall is an astounding number. In the end, obviously, physically, he was unable to maintain the levels of speed that he had, but he was still a very, very tricky striker. And now he's on to his coaching career. So I think up front, those are the two I would think of. Without putting a position by it, I'd say there's one player who embodied the spirit and the work ethic of Millwall, regardless of what position he was put in, because he would be goalkeeper if we asked him, was Alan Dunn, who his presence was Millwall. He represented all of us. He was sort of everyman. He was the fan, he was the player, he was management. He was fearless in the face of the referees. So if I was going to pick one who was the spirit of Millwall personified in a player, I would say Alan Dunn. Yes, we've been talking about it at the board for a while, but I think it's time that we start up a Millwall Hall of Fame. There are details that have to be hashed out, but I think every year we should induct a couple of players from the past or present and remember them in some way because of their outstanding contributions to the club. I'm surprised that we haven't done it up until this time, but I look forward to our starting this and making a tradition and having a ceremony in front of some game every season. Hopefully those players are able to come and receive their rewards, and we figure out how in and around the stadium, and maybe during the rehabilitation of the stadium, whenever that starts, we find a way to find a section where the Hall of Fame players will be remembered. Good question. I am as frustrated by this as anybody, but keep in mind I've been working away at this for 15 years, 14, 15 years now. And this is the best position we've ever been in. We're trying to finalize a lease with Lewisham as we speak. The individuals now at Lewisham, as opposed to what was true in the past, are working with us. In particular, the mayor, Damien Egan, and his right-hand man, Viv Evans, are very pro Millwall. We're working very closely with Steve Cavanaugh and our advisors to rewrite the lease and get the plans in place. No one wants to break ground faster than I, and this has frustrated me terribly because I see developments where I live, and quite frankly, once they're ready to go, sort of 3, 4, 5 years later or sooner, they're done. Go play. Sometimes quicker, 2 years, 3 years, and that's obviously not been the case here. But now that we seem to be making some progress, I think after this virus begins to go away, evaporate, we have however it is we contain it, I think it'll be very quick because everybody wants this done. And it's important to the community, it's important to the club that this get done. And for me, I have a lot of people to thank for this. Obviously, the management of the club, my past chief exec Andy Amber, my current one Steve Cavanaugh, all the legal teams that have worked with us, as well as our architects and CBRE, who have been our advisors. But most of all, I think the fans have driven this for us and broke the logjam when we hit a problem with the prior political base of South London. And the use, I think effectively our fans on the board were magnificent in uniting the fans once they understood the issues at hand. And I think with everybody contributing, fans first, management, architects, everything, we finally broken through. And I think once we're able to, I expect this to be moving now fairly rapidly. And I can't wait. And I sure want to be around and watch a lot of the games in our new surroundings. Other than finding a barber to cut my hair these days, which is a challenge, a number of challenges. One is, of course, the old, what I consider the old reputation of the team. It caused issues in terms of recruiting players, recruiting managers, including recruiting management, because everybody had locked Millwall into the 1960s. And I think there are a number of players who didn't want to play for us, who I spoke to. There are a number of players who just wouldn't even return phone calls, or agents wouldn't even consider it in the past. That's changed, as you can see in the quality of the club at the moment. In managers, quite frankly, when I first started recruiting the first manager I brought to the club, Kenny Jackett, it took maybe as long as a month to convince him to come. And I was with his current manager at Man City on our side completely, and telling him to come and join us. But I think that was a real challenge, getting over what I consider the old reputation, the old instability, the lack of stability in the club, and bringing the best quality people into the club. That I think is passed, as you can see. I think the managers from Neil, from Kenny, Neil, Holloway, people with big reputations have come here, Gary now, to manage the club. I think the players we have and the young players have come. I think Scott Fitzgerald is doing a magnificent job recruiting younger players, and it's gotten, I hope it's gotten easier for him. In terms of the players we have and the players we go into the transfer window now, the conversation is about money, not about Millwall, which is a pleasant change, because 10 years ago it was about Millwall, whether in fact they would play for Millwall. Now it's, will we pay the price, not pay the price, what their weekly wages are or not. And frankly, there are just a lot of people out there who do want to play for Millwall, and especially in the last year or two, where I think we've shown our stability and people know how well we've treated the club and the players, management. I think there are a lot of people who wish they were Millwall players today as opposed to where they are. Because I think we as a management team, and here I would give credit to Steve, who's been my key advisor on what to do during these times, which was basically as much as we can treat people fairly and correctly. And I think that's what we've done across the board. We obviously, in a time where there are no revenues coming into the club, it's very difficult. But we start with what's the right thing to do, and then try to do that as a club. In addition, another problem I've had is with the regulations of the leagues that we've been in. Every time I've been at games, whether it's Steve or Con or Trevor or Peter Garston, someone's whispering in my ear, John, they have 3 times, 4 times the payroll, and they've done this, they've done that. They're paying this guy 100,000 pounds a week. They're paying this guy 75,000 pounds a week, and that's a problem. And there are existing rules and regulations, and no one seems to be obeying them. The financial reality of what's going on today, I think, is going to change things, so that people are going to be forced to start being, as we are, start obeying the rules of the game, stop looking for the loopholes, stop having twice as many players on the roster as we are, stop having these massive payrolls. A lot of these teams, as you know, are boom or bust, and that's nuts, because think of what it does to the fan base of that team. So I look forward to the day that we're all forced to behave similarly in terms of how we build our teams, similar financial structures. And I'm actually kind of tired of teams finding ways around the rules. We have seen all sorts of gimmicks done in the last year or two. I look forward to when those gimmicks are not being done anymore, and we're just doing the right thing, which is going out there, getting the players, paying them, getting the best managers you can for the team, getting the best coaches, and play the game, as opposed to all this financial gimmickry and nonsense that's gone on in the past. So that's been a problem, because we have gone by the rules as they stated every single year. We do not try to get around them, and as we all know, a lot of the other clubs have. So when we're at even footing and are closer to that, I look forward to how Millwall will play, because as it is, we're a very strong team. In 8th place, 1 point out of 7th place, I think 2 points out of 6th place. And just imagine when people are forced to obey the rules, and there are real consequences for their actions in the future. So that's been a problem in the past. I hope it won't be in the future. This is the issue. I want this season finished. We have 9 games to play. We're 2 points out of a playoff team with a very strong team, with an excellent manager. So it's imperative for Millwall to finish these 9 games, because regardless of what the outcome of those 9 games are, we can win all of them. We may not win all of them. I don't think we'll lose all of them. But I look at our schedule, and I think we should be in every game and have an opportunity to compete in every game. So I think it's if and how we play after June 1st, as the government has now said that subsequent to June 1st we'll be able to play, might be at empty stadiums, however the rules are. I look forward to those games. I think relative to the virus and how it's impacted us, all the clubs, obviously it's it's hurt the revenue situation terribly for all of us. There's no incoming cash. So it's a case of you have to stay on the beach. So when the waves come in, you're out there and your boat's taken out to sea and you're sailing away. We're going to be on that beach. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine now. We're going to be fine in the future. I'm obviously here. If anybody cares or interested, I'm well. Although a number of my friends have died, which has been somewhat unsettling. But I'm looking forward to my birthday on June 2nd, my 67th birthday, which the only thing I would say about that is that I'm glad to have this much hair at this juncture of my life. But I think the future of the club, I'm here. I have one of my children's on the board. I have others who can go on the board. A number of them have become more and more Millwall fans. Everybody, actually, the entire family, grandchildren, all these grandchildren, especially as they're all home, all they wear is Millwall gear. And so we're here. I think the plans for the future, someone asked, we talked about the regeneration before. Well, I said years ago, the plans for the regeneration was to create another income stream for this club. My views haven't changed. They've never changed. No matter what anybody says, they've always been constant on this. When and how and if and whatever, there was an income stream from the regeneration and our development of our land. That income's going into the club. So it's not just going to be people worrying about it. And I know people come up to me and say, don't walk out on the street without looking both ways. There'll be more income coming into this club when that happens. So that's why I'd like to see this happen. Because in fact, it lowers the risk going forward and increases our chances of being a strong team going forward, because very few people are going to have that kind of an income stream coming. So if I leave that to Millwall for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I will be very happy. In terms of just how we deal with the virus, I think we get on with it. When they allow us to start practicing and training, we will do that. When they allow us to play, we will play. We will play to win. And we will then go on to next season, wherever that league that might be in. We will build the team accordingly, make it the best team it can possibly be, and try to have another very good, solid season. This is as good a Millwall club, perhaps, as I've seen. And I look forward to it getting better, and a lot of the players we have are getting better. So I think the future is tomorrow. I think the virus, one way or the other, has to be contained, and I think we have to live on the basis that, in some fashion, it's whether it goes away, whether we have a vaccine, whether there's who knows, but whatever it's going to be, there will be tomorrow. And our objective is, we're expecting there to be a tomorrow, and we're expecting this team to play its heart out and make us all proud, the fans, management, the players, the entire Millwall fan base. So that's what I think about where we are now, which is I want to play 9 more games, and I'd like to do very well and see how great a season Millwall can end with.